Good evening, Heir of Carthage here, and I'm pretty sure you can hear me this time. Yeah, some of you all were like big-time whiners whenever I uploaded this video, like, geez, Heir, weren't you supposed to have commentary or something? Like that I've ever done commentary on a video before. I mean, geez, so needy. I'm just giving you all a hard time, of course. Yeah, so my microphone was muted. That is something that happens to YouTubers time and time again, and you may wonder, well, why do you ever even mute your microphone? Well, there will be occasions, like the other night I was playing some Halo, and just in case I was going to get a good match, I was recording them, but I didn't want to record in the audio because little airs running around and stuff like that. So, yeah, I turned the microphone off, and I always tell myself, all right, not going to forget it this time, but I always do. It's inevitable. So, yeah. Anyway, if you want, I left the old video up so you all can watch it without commentary, just in case I missed any views or missed anything else. If you want to go see the old video, it is a great battle. Definitely love this one. So it's Dwarf versus Beastmen. The Beastmen army is a main line of Warherd with shields. There's 3 Gorbals, 2 Cygors, a Beastlord, and then there's also, I'm trying to remember where the Beastlord is at. The Beastlord's not a very big character compared to the rest of the beasts. Here's the Bray Shaman of Beast, so he can spawn a... Here's the Beastlord right here. Yeah, so there's Beastlord. So, yeah, I mean, the Beastmen have a cheap infantry line, but they're obviously focusing on monsters to help carry the day. And you can see some nasty shots coming in from the Cygors. If those guys get hits, they do a lot of damage. You can see already 38 kills here. Now, I think that the Beastman player makes a critical mistake here. They leave their Cygors within striking distance of the Thunderers. There's Gorbal making his initial charge, and here comes Gorbal number 2 with his initial charge. And yeah, the Runesmith, you can see him back there boosting up their troops, but the Beastmen come in here and they're about to, I think they dropped the spell on their own guys here too. They did. So they use the Impenetrable Pelt and then also Doom Flock. So the Bray Shaman actually being used for something besides just spawning, which is nice to see. But I mean, Beastmen definitely reliant upon heroes and monsters at this point. And I've heard some people say that they don't like that about Warhammer. I definitely think that to an extent this game has to be about heroes and monsters, or else it just kind of takes away from, I think, what Warhammer was meant to be. So yes, that will be very different than what we're used to in past Total War experience. But at the same time, I agree. I don't want it to make army pick a secondary thing. I think that there needs to be plenty of units out there that are good counters to certain heroes or monsters. So initially, Ungram Iron Fist comes out here and starts punching the Beastlord in the face with an Iron Fist. You can see the Beastlord here honorably running away from a small dwarf, using the Gorbal to try and take the charge for him. And look at that Gorbal, he actually lands it. So now Ungram's in trouble, man. He's in a big brawl. Continued use of Doom Flock, and it's the overcasted one, so it's going to affect more units and for a longer duration. So the Beastmen are doing a good job at trying to pull down the superior dwarf infantry. Their Warherds already have been defeated, as expected. I mean, you can't expect too much from these guys against dwarf infantry, but some of them did okay for the time they were in here. This one, 25 kills against, pretty decent dwarf infantry isn't bad. So yeah, the Thunderers are making a huge difference in this battle, and it's not up until now that the Gorbal over here actually starts to do something about it. The Runesmith has also been allowed to just continue to buff the armies. Like I said, the Cygors, all they had to do was back up, and they could keep throwing the rocks in here with impunity. The Dwarves didn't have any way to chase them. So this was a huge mistake for the Beastmen. Yeah, you can see here, you got the Thane now being attacked by a Beastlord and Gorbal. And Ungram is slowly dropping. But like I said, the Runesmith going relatively untouched here. Finally, the Thunderers getting attention. Feral Manticore was spawned by the Bray Shaman, and the Manticore's back here helping to separate the dwarves from their unneeded innards, because we all know that they had too many anyway. And then the Cygor here is thrown into combat, which again is a very odd move. There's plenty of ammunition left on this unit, and although he looks really cool in melee, I think that the Beastman player was getting a little too hasty here. In the late game, the dwarves can be very challenging to rout. Even when their numbers start to get low, you may think, we're about to cause a chain rout. Not with Longbeards and not with Slayers. Those guys are going to fight till near to the last dwarf, and a Slayer will, especially the Slayer King. Even pinned in between 2 Gorbals, he knows not the meaning of the word surrender. But he does know the meaning of getting gored at this point. There he is. So the Slayer King is slain. So he's down. So the Gorbals have finally succeeded. All of them have potions, and of course the Thane has a potion as well. So with Ungrim down, definitely takes a hit to the leadership of some of the dwarf units. You can actually see it right here if I'm able to mouse over it proper. So yeah, the Lord recently died as a 16 leadership penalty. And that's going to be significant on units like these Thunderers, who now, where previously will stand their ground, it's rougher when the Lord has routed. You can see there's a Thane over here that's still in good shape. There's a Thane over here that's in good shape. The Runesmith is just now kind of being attacked, but not really focused on by the Gorbals. This Cygor is finally back at a distance. This Cygor should also keep its distance. Being involved in this melee is definitely pointless for this unit, because it can sit back and continue to get kills on the dwarfs. The Feral Manticore is tangled up in ongoing melee with the Thunders, which is not ideal, when it could be helping to make sure that units like these do not come back from routing, because that could be a problem. I understand the Thunders are a problem, but the Gorbal, I believe, would be best suited to getting rid of the Thunders, and this one actually routes over here. The Thane helps drive it off the battlefield. The two Gorbals over here are in good shape, though, but the enemy Beastlord just dies as well, so now the Beastmen are going to take the leadership penalty hit. And there's still quite a lot of battle left, so as you may have seen if you watched the video without commentary, this goes into an all-out slogfest between some Longbeards and a couple of Thanes and some Gorbals, Cygor, and a Feral Manticore, of course, it's up here. So, and the Manticore did rout, but it's now coming back. Like, this is the Runesmith, so this is very, very bad for the dwarves. This Runesmith is a key unit in keeping this army strong, and with the Runesmith being attacked by two Gorbals here, it's definitely not good. So I would say things looking a little bit down for the dwarf, except for that these Thunderers survive. Both Thunder units are still alive, and both have a fair amount of ammo left, enough to do some pretty serious damage. And you do have some Slayers and other stuff running around out here chasing a routing Gorbal. They're never going to catch them. Here comes the Gorbal right into the Thunders, and this is a great move. This is exactly what needs to happen. The Thunders need to be gotten rid of if the Beastmen want to have a chance at winning. And I think that it was a mistake, like I said, so two mistakes here. One, I would have tried to position my infantry in such a way that it left a open throwing lane for the Cygors. Keep the Cygors at a distance and use your infantry positioning to create a good position. Like I said, so that your Cygor can be throwing into the flank of the dwarf infantry. And then the Gorbals should have charged, and one Gorbal and the Beastlord and the Bray Shaman could have been dedicated to the melee combat, and then two Gorbals should have been sent back to deal with the Thunderers from the very beginning, because you can see how good they are at dealing with the Thunderers. The Manticore is actually really not all that spectacular. The Manticore should have been used for rear charges to help continue to support the melee fight, so quick hit and run type stuff. But yeah, you can see that the dwarfs are trying to kind of get put together here in the woods. The woods will help slow down the charge of certain Beastmen units. So cut Gorbal here fighting a Thane, and in the background Gorbal's just tearing up Thunders. Manticore's over here fighting up against a Thane. The Thane is going to do great damage to the Manticore, but the Manticore can usually stagger it. It's going to make it hard for the Thane to get a lot of hits. So these flying units like that with their big hits, they'll stagger units. But again, you can see that the leadership of dwarves being clutch here. Many units coming back from routing, and this is going to be a painful deal here. So the Rune of Wrath and Ruin used on the Manticore to help speed it from the battlefield didn't do a whole lot, because it's meant for units with multiple models, which none of these remaining Beastmen units do. The Gorbal here is killed by the Thane. So that's one Gorbal down. Manticore routing. There's still two Gorbals left. But the two Thunderers have come back from routing and have a little bit of ammo. So let's just kind of watch. The Gorbals are substantially powerful melee units, and they have still allowed the Runesmith to come back in here, and he's using the Rune of Negation and the other buffs to give extra armor. So these Slayers here fighting to the death, as expected by a Slayer. I'm still not super impressed with Slayers. They're okay-ish versus cavalry, but they're so easy to kill with missiles that when you consider the factions where you might really need them, like against the Empire and Bretonnia, they cost so much. And then especially Bretonnia, because Bretonnia has access to cheap halberds, and Bretonnia is like a perfect counter to the dwarves. They've got cheap long-range archers, they've got cheap armor-piercing infantry, and they've got tons of cavalry. And so, to me, it's just impossible for the dwarves to field a good army versus Bretonnia. At least from what I've seen, you'd have to do something very unorthodox as the dwarves. And the problem is that when I say unorthodox, I would usually lean towards basically the use of a lot of gyrocopters, but you can't do that either because Bretonnia has major air superiority over almost any other faction. So it becomes a serious problem for the dwarves. Look at the guts and entrails flying everywhere. The runesmith, again, still being left alive. The thunderers are firing in. They're going to be doing some great damage. So the Gorbals had their potions. One Thane has been knocked out, and he's almost dead. The Gorbal should be able to easily finish him off, but one Gorbal is suffering pretty badly here. It's being shot up, and it looks like it's going to exit the battlefield too. But now the Runesmith no longer going to be ignored by this Gorbal, who rolls him over. And yeah, this is going to be bad. Runesmiths aren't very good at melee. That's their downfall. They help buff other units a lot, but they are really quite bad at melee. I do wish they were a little better in melee. I don't want them to be like crazy OP, but I feel like they should be at least as good as a Thane in melee, but they most definitely are not. And without healing potions, they are extraordinarily weak at that point. So Gorbal is going to be making some cycle charges, and this is basically how he works on the campaign trail too. If you don't vote for him at first, he just comes rolling right back in and gains your vote. Either that or I guess he eliminates your vote so that you won't be voting against him. Remember, Gorbal for president, folks. Destroy all humans. Best platform out there. Look at him, he just gored that dwarf up and off of him. So let's take a look at the like I said, the Runesmith is still alive and chasing the Gorbal. If anything, this Runesmith should be wanting to keep some distance between him and Gorbal. Let's see if we can keep an eye on him. Here he is. And Gorbal's going to turn around and let's see it. Oh! That's why the Runesmith should have kept his distance from Gorbal, because there his body split in half. So biggest problem for the Gorbal right now is probably leadership. It can continue to cycle charge. The Thane is also a big problem. But at this point, he's eager. The Gorbal is exhausted. Most of the dwarf units are probably exhausted from combat too. Any good charge Gorbal gets, though, is going to dish a lot of damage. When he has to sit here, he's going to take a lot of damage. And the Thane had a healing potion recently. So I would say that with these thunders firing and what's going on, that the Gorbal is definitely at a disadvantage here. The Thane can use the infantry to help tank some of the damage that Gorbal dishes. So it's going to definitely leave the Thane in a better position. So some late game infantry here would have been very helpful for the Beastmen, but the problem for them is that their infantry tend to have very low leadership, whereas the infantry from the dwarves tend to have very good leadership, so they're kind of the opposite. So this hero type thing can work out if and only if the Beastmen are able to put a quick knockout to the enemy or to key enemy units. If they end up in a late game slog out with a faction like the dwarves, who have great leadership, then they're going to struggle like this. So again, you can see Gorbal's fantastic in melee. He does really stupendous damage. Probably one of the best melee heroes in the game, in my opinion. How does he stack up to the Exalted Hero? I've seen Exalted Heroes do pretty good sometimes. Here he comes. Another dwarf entrail spewing charge there. The carrion birds are going to be well fed on this battlefield, and they're not even going to have to work very hard for it. Everything's just going to be all strewn out for them, and it was a nasty battle. Look at some of the carnage up here. Here's the leftover carnage from the battle. The blood and gore mod in this game is pretty nice. I like how it has a few downsides. Like sometimes there's a little too much blood all over characters, but I like it because it kind of seems like it fits the look and feel of the game good, kind of like it did in Shogun 2. Whereas in Rome 2 and Attila, I felt like the blood mod was kind of just like a cheap, or the blood DLC was kind of just a cheap, crummy addition that really didn't fit the look and feel of it. I think Shogun 2 is still the best blood DLC I've seen, but this one's definitely a second place here. Wow. Just absolutely brutal. But yeah, Gorbal doesn't really stand a chance here. See, his leadership gets broken, and that's going to be it. So hope y'all enjoyed the one with commentary here. Huh? You like that? Yeah, I'll try not to leave my microphone turned off. Do hope that you all enjoyed it, and I will be back with more Warhammer content. But yeah, I mean, you can definitely see here that the leadership of the dwarves carried the day. I mean, hero spam, and I say spam, there was 5 hero units, there was 5 infantry units. I mean, it's balanced, I guess, per se. It depends on your own look at it. I'm not saying that I love it. The dwarves, obviously, they had 2-to-1, so actually a little more than 2-to-1. So for every hero, they had 2 normal units. For the beastmen, it was a little different, especially if you count the Cygors in as monster or hero type units. But they're really more of an artillery unit than anything. So, but I mean, honestly, the beastmen probably have to rely on that pretty heavily because some of their infantry otherwise is less than desirable. But who knows? Maybe people aren't exploring the beastmen enough. Do you all have a different feel on these guys? Is there a way that you think they're used better rather than just lots of Gorbals and cheap support? Are you able to use Bestigors or Centigors or anything else to good effect? Kind of curious what your take on the beastmen is. Is this the best way to use them, or do you feel like there's better ways? Let me know in the comments. HeirofCarthage signing out. As always, if you see the little HeirofCarthage logo down in the bottom right, feel free to subscribe. And again, as always, thanking MSI for having sponsored the build that brings you this content. I love making the content for you. Hope you all enjoy it, and I will be bringing you plenty more in the future. See you soon.